I define evil as as purposeful actions that cause unnecessary suffering.
Okay, but when you import unnecessary suffering, you're importing purpose into the universe. You're saying, well, to say unnecessary, that implies that there is a direction to the universe that humans ought to go. But if there is no God, there's no purpose. Everything just happens. There's no direction. Everything's just a matter of opinion. Everything is purposeless.
Well, what I'm saying is that every person acts as if their suffering is true. And,
sure, but why should someone like Stalin care about that?
Well, if we, in my worldview, I say that I define evil as I just defined it, and so from that we can extrapolate good actions. And so, because every person cares about whether or not they're suffering, and we can project that onto other people because other people also act as if their suffering is real.
But why, I'm trying to get at, why should a person who disagrees with you, why is that person wrong? If there's no true compass to life.
I'm saying there is a compass.
What's it grounded in?
Evil, the existence of evil. The existence of suffering.
Well, what do you mean by evil?
Alleviation, and basing good actions off of the alleviation of that suffering.
Okay, but what do you mean by evil? Define evil again for me.
I define evil as actions taken purposefully which increase or propagate unnecessary suffering.
Okay, but again, you're importing a moral law in there.
How do you mean?
Because, again, unnecessary implies that people ought to behave a certain way. Where does that oughtness, that moral law that is embedded in your system, where does that come from?
Moral law. I'm not sure what you mean when you say moral law.
If you say something's unnecessary, you're implying that there's a proper way to live. Why should people live to alleviate suffering in others? Who said?
They should live to alleviate suffering in others.
Why?
Because we're cooperative animals.
But Stalin didn't need to cooperate. He only needed to cooperate with a group of people that protected him.
He needed to cooperate with other people insofar as it allowed him to reach his ends.
Right. That's exactly. He just cooperated with enough people and killed them and took their things so he could live a happy life. Why was he wrong?
Because he propagated unnecessary suffering.
Who said? You? He doesn't think it's unnecessary.
Historical records say that lots of people died because of Stalin.
But why is it wrong to kill people? See, that's
because it propagates unnecessary suffering.
But Stalin doesn't think it's unnecessary.
Well, Stalin is wrong.
According to what standard? Outside of humanity.
Outside of humanity.
Yes. Because otherwise it's just your opinion against Stalin's opinion. So what's outside of humanity that says Stalin was wrong and you're right? I think you're right. Don't get me wrong. I think what you're saying is true. But if you're an atheist, you don't have any standard outside of humanity to say you're right.